In this video, we're going to study Article 5 in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Modern Arithmetic 3 course. That's Article number 5. As you can see from the title up here, in this article, we're going to study tens and units. And what's exciting about this lesson is that when we're finished with Article 5, you will be able to write or read any number from 1 all the way up to 100 in Arabic notation. So Article 5 is a very important lesson because it gives us all the information that we need to write or read any number from 1 all the way to 100 in Arabic notation. Now, as we get into a new lesson, remember that I have told you again and again in our past lessons that every lesson needs to be studied for mastery. You really should make sure that you know everything in every lesson, in every article that we study in modern arithmetic, because each lesson builds on the past lessons. And if you don't master the lessons, we're going to keep building and building and building, and you're going to be confused because you didn't learn the first lessons well enough. So, if we start going through a lesson and you start feeling confused, the reason why you're probably confused is because I'm talking about things in the new lessons that you should have learned in the past lessons, but you didn't study well enough. So if you start getting confused, you probably need to stop, go back, and review the old lessons before trying to move on to the new lesson. Okay? So here we're going to study tens and units. So you need to make sure that you have carefully studied Article number 3, which taught us about units, and Article number 4, which taught us about tens. Because in Article 5, we're going to put them together and talk about tens and units. Okay? And as I said, this is a very important lesson because this is going to teach us everything that we need to know to write or read any number from 1 all the way up to 100 in Arabic notation. So make sure you know articles 1 through 4. So to get started here, rule number 1 here in Article 5 says the numbers between 10 and 20, between 20 and 30, etc. And let me just say something real quick about this phrase, etc. You'll see this all the time. E-T-C with a period. This comes from Latin and it means et cetera. Etc. This means and the rest. Et means and cetera means the rest in Latin. So the numbers between 10 and 20, 20 and 30, etc. and the rest. So that would mean between 30 and 40, between 40 and 50, between 50 and 60, between 60 and 70, and so on through 90. So the numbers between 10 and 20, between 20 and 30, etc., and the rest are expressed by representing the tens and units of which they are composed. The numbers between 10 and 20, between 20 and 30, etc., are expressed by representing the tens and the units of which they are composed. So the first thing we're going to learn is how to write the numbers between 10 and 20. We've already learned how to write the numbers 1 through 9, and we learned how to write 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. But how do we write the numbers in between 10 and 20? And the numbers in between 20 and 30, and between 30 and 40, and between 40 and 50, and so on. How do we write those numbers? That's what we're going to learn here in Article 5. Okay? And as I said, when we're done with this lesson, we'll be able to write or read any number from 1 all the way up to 100. Okay? So, Article 5, tens and units. The best way for us to learn this is just to look at these numbers and understand what they tell us. We know how to write from 1 through 9, and in Article 4, we learned how to write the number 10. We wrote the number 10 by putting a 1 in the tens place and a 0 in the units place, because the number 10 has 1 10 and 0 units. Well, what happens if we take the number 10 and add 1 more unit? It's very simple. We're going to have 110, but instead of 0 units, there's going to be 1 unit, because we're adding 1 unit to 10. So all that we're going to do is write 110 and 1 unit. So 10 plus 1 more unit gives us 110 and 1 unit. And the name of this number is 11. The number 11 consists of 110 and 1 unit. It's very simple. The number 10 plus 1 more unit makes 110 and 1 unit. And that number we call 11. Now, we can move up here where I've already written all of the numbers. Here we see the number 11. We see 110 and 1 unit more. That makes the number 11. If we add 1 more unit to the number 11, we'll have 110 and 2 units. 110 and 2 units. In 11, we have 110 and 1 unit. If we add 1 more unit, we'll have 110 and 2 units. And this is how we write the number 12. The number 12 consists of 110 and 2 units. If we add 1 more unit to the number 12, we'll have 110, just like 12, but we'll add 1 unit, and that will make 3 units. So 12 and 1 more unit makes the number 13, which consists of 110 and 3 units. If we add 1 more unit, we'll have 110 and 4 units. And this is how we write the number 14. 14, 110 and 4 units. If we take 1 unit away from 14, instead of having 110 and 4 units, we'll have 110 and only 3 units, and that will be 13. If we add 1 unit to 14, we'll have 110 and 5 units. 110 and 5 units makes the number 15. The number 15 is written with 1 in the tens place and 5 in the units place. The number 16 has 1 unit more. 1 10 and 6 units makes 16. 1 10 and 7 units makes 17. 17 is written with 1 10 and 7 units. 18 is written with 1 10 and 8 units. 19 is written with 1 10 and the units place is full. It has a full 9 units. So the number 19 has 1 10 and 9 units. Now, if we add one more, let's write the number 19. Here we have 19, 1 10 and 9 units. If we add one more unit to 19, how would we write that? Well, we already know, because in Article 4, we learned that the number 20 is written with 2 10s and 0 units. So the number 19 has 1 10 and 9 units. If we add one more, we have 2 10s. The number 20, 2 10s and 0 units. So we can now write any of the numbers from 10 all the way through 19. And we already know how to write 20, 2 10s and 0 units. If I took 1 unit away from 20, if I took 1 unit away from 20, I would not have 2 10s. I would only have 1 10 and 9 units. And that's the number 19. If I add one more unit, I would have 1 10, and then I'd have 9 plus 1 units. 9 plus 1 units makes another 10. So I would write 2 10s and 0 units. So now we can see how to write from 10 to 11 and all the way up to 19 and 20. All right? The numbers between 10 and 20 are expressed by representing the tens and units. And that's what we've done here. We've written how many tens and how many units. 12 has 1 10 and 2 units. 16 has 1 10 and 6 units. 19 has 1 10 and 9 units. That's what our rule teaches us here, how to write the numbers between 10 and 20. Okay? We're still only using 10 characters of Arabic notation. So it's very simple still. When we write the numbers 1 through 9, we simply use the numbers 1 through 9 in the units place. When we get to the number 10, we simply move 1 into the tens place and leave the units place empty. If we have more than that, we simply add to the units place. And we use the same 10 figures, just 1 through 9. We simply write them in the second order, or the second place. Okay, so now we can write any number from 1 all the way up through 20 using just 10 characters. But remember, I told you that when we're finished with this lesson, we'll be able to write any number from 1 all the way up to 100. Well, we just learned how to do from 10 up to 20. But how do we get from 20 to 30? It's even easier. Notice that for 11 through 19, we need to learn the names of these numbers. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And you should make sure that you can write every one of these numbers in Arabic notation with characters, but also with words in English. So you need to make sure you have all the names of these numbers memorized and that you know how to spell them correctly. You have to memorize how to spell them correctly. Okay? And you should be able to write any number from 1 up through 20. Now, if we want to go further, we want to count from 20 to 30. It gets even simpler. If we have 20, we learned to write 2 tens and 0 units. 2 tens and 0 units makes 20. Well, if we add 1 unit to 20, what do we have? Very simple. We have 21. And all we need to do is write 2 tens and 1 unit. 2 tens and 1 unit makes the number 21. To write this number with words, we simply write 20 dash 1, 21. If we want to add 1 unit more, we simply write 2 tens and 1 more unit will go from 1 to 2 units. So we have 2 tens and 2 units. 2 tens makes 20 and 2 units makes 2. 22. 20, 21, 22. We write 20 dash 2. Very simple. If we want to add 1 more unit, we simply write 20 and 3. 23. If we want to add 1 more unit, 24. And we continue like that. 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. And that brings us to 30. So now, once you learn how to write the numbers 21 through 29 in Arabic notation, just like this, very simple, 2 tens, and how many units? 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, and so on. We can write any number from 20 all the way up to 29 and then 30. Now, to keep going, it just continues and is very simple. After 29, after 29 comes, let's see, we have the number 29, which is 2 tens and 9 units. If we add 1 more unit, we have 3 tens. So to write 30, we write 3 tens and 0 units. If we want to write 1 more, we write 3 tens and 1 unit. And that makes 31. If we want to write 1 more, we write 3 tens and 2 units. And that makes 32. And we go on, 33, 34, 35, all the way up to 40. So now, if you understand this, if you simply write the number of tens and the number of units, you should be able to write any number from 1 up to 40. And the same thing goes on, 41, 42, 43, up to 50, and then 51, 52, 53, up to 60, and it goes on, 70, 80, 81, 82, 90, 91, 92, until you get all the way to the number 99. The number 99, 90 is 9 tens, and 9 more is 9 units, 99. In our next articles, we'll learn how to keep going up through the hundreds. Okay, but in Article 5, what we learn is how to write any numbers between 10 and 20, 20 and 30, etc., and the rest, all the way up to 99. Okay? We simply write the number of tens in the second place and the number of units in the first place. The numbers from 11 to 19 have their own special names. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on up to 19. Once we get to 20, from 20 all the way up to 99, the numbers are just written 31, 32. You write the number of the tens and how many units. 31, 32, 99. So after studying Article 5, as I said, you should be able to write any number or read any number from 1 all the way up to 100. Because the next number we'll learn after 99, if we add one more unit to 99, watch what happens. If we added one more unit, that would make 10. So we would have to add one more 10, and that would leave us with 0 units. And if we add them together, we would have 10 tens and 0 units. 10 tens and 0 units. This is how we write the number 100. The third place is called the hundreds place. And we'll study that in our next lesson. Okay? But now you can write and read any number from 1 up to 100 once you've studied and mastered Articles 1 through 5. Okay? So just to quickly review, in Article 5, we studied tens and units, and we learned that numbers between 10 and 20, between 20 and 30, and etc., are expressed by representing the tens and units of which they are composed. That should make sense now. For 11 to 19, we learned that we simply write the number of tens and the number of units, but these numbers in English have special names, 11, 12, 13, and so on, and you need to memorize those names and how to spell them. But once we get to 20 and go past 20 to 21, 22, we simply say the name of the tens and add the name of the units all the way up to 99. That's everything for Article 5. In our next video, we're going to do a few exercises and put this to practice. Okay, so take your time, review lessons 1 through 5 or Articles 1 through 5, because as I said, in our next video, we're going to do some exercises and put this to work. I hope that's helpful. God bless your studies.